There we go. And Sherwin, keep Mr. Gluck
off we go. Well,
entertained while I do a little bit of housekeeping.
Well, Jeff, we really appreciate you coming on. Obviously, it's always very exciting for us to have someone of your stature be on. I'm sure you're very excited about your new adventure with the Athletic, and that'll come up in conversation today. And so that's really cool. I think
is this number fourth time I've been on, or
I think maybe fifth or sixth,
fourth or fifth. Yeah, I wrote in my notes Professor Emeritus, so you have 10 years.
I think
now.
I've had 3. I think I might have been on.
I can find out right now.
3 like real ones. Plus, I came on when our soccer teams were in the final for like a half episode.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep,
so
and I've been on yours, so like we're kind of covered on that.
This is actually it's the 5th one. Yeah. You were on the same time Jay Busby was on 173. Right. Yeah, and then right after you're on October 24th, so not too long after the baby was coming out.
2 weeks after.
Yeah. So that's a trooper right there. Let's see. All right, we got some folks on, and we might as well get this thing kicked off so we can get the most out of it. And like I said, I'll keep an eye on time and give Sherwin the old hand signals like, hey, we need to move on now.
Yeah, Rusty's always giving me the hand signals of, hey, can you please shut up so that we can get to the next thing?
Yeah. So, you know how it starts, and we'll do all the intros and stuff. We'll disappear for about a minute and a half. People will be able to hear you, but you might not be able to hear us. You may or may not. It varies. But then you'll hear us bring you on and everything else. So you ready to roll?
I'm ready.
Awesome.
Let's do it. Thanks for doing it early.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go.
Let's roll it.
Recording now. Welcome, yo! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 205. Today's Tuesday, July 23rd, 2019. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm in the PTM Podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
That's right. We're joined tonight by the formerly independent journalist, Mr. Jeff Gluck, now for The Athletic.
That's right. Before we get to him, y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PTM and join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month and get your free koozies, stickers, everything else. Best part is every cent this year, once again, donate to sponsored drivers. Join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show, as always, brought to you by our official sponsors at $5 and up per month level. Those are Laura Henshaw, Aaron Biden, Robert Kevlin, Coleman McClamer, Kevin Ryan, Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brandon Crown, Catherine McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Rika Porter, Jen Bob, Les Miller, Tommy Wood, Julie Bosley, John Pearson, Eddie Griffin III, Yonker Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Crystal Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Knapp, Stacey Coleman, Matthew Camper, Lisa Chanana, Rick Houston, Todd Oliver, and Sarah Enbari.
Woo! We pride ourselves on being a long-form podcast, but we have a lot of material to cover.
We sure do, and we've got a great guest to help us do that. You know him. He's a PTM PhD, multi-time PhD. Sherwin said a professor emeritus.
Yeah, I believe he's got tenure now.
That's right. Motorsports reporter for The Athletic. On Twitter, at Jeff Gluck and at The Athletic Auto. Welcome back, Mr. Jeff Gluck. What's up, Jeff?
Hello, how are you? I was watching myself on YouTube and trying to listen to your intro and then go back. And then I was like, I have a weird look on my face because I was looking at myself delayed, listening, and it was just like this weird otherworldly thing. So I'm glad that I can hear you and focus now and not get distracted by my own image.
Right.
So it's great to be back on. Yeah, I think this is time number 4.5-ish.
Yeah,
5.
Yeah, 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So
I mean, I've been doing this long enough that I remember some of the first times was I was still in my apartment in Charlotte, North Carolina, which seems like a lifetime ago, like at this point.
Well, you've done a lot of life stuff since then.
Yeah. It's at least one.
You're a dad now.
At least one person's lifetime ago, as it turns out.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, Jeff, you know how we start this thing off every week. What are you drinking on tonight?
I do. Well, guys, here. I mean, you know that I have a 9-month-old, and so the only thing that I drink these days is some nice Pacific Northwest coffee.
There you
right
go.
Here, even though it is 6 p.m. here, and I need to probably go to bed early because I'm still on East Coast time. But coffee.
That's right. Taking a big old
this is
Gluck gulp.
This is it.
It keeps them running, keeps the motor.
That's what I'm drinking.
Attaboy.
Well, I hear the
Pacific
Northwest is kind of wins the world at coffee, at least in the United States.
That's right.
So to speak.
What are we drinking on tonight?
Well, I got a little bit of Jim Beam White Label, just like normal, mixed with some White Claw Black Cherry, which is very tasty.
Yeah. We had that last week. It went pretty well, so I'm digging it. I can get into it. Gluck, you know what? Elephant in the room. We got to talk about it here for a moment. How's the Athletic? How's it going?
It's good. It's been good so far. It's a very different. It's a different mentality for me, because it's sort of. I mean, some of it's what I was doing at the jeffgluck.com stuff, right? Like I'm still doing 12 questions. I'm still doing like the top 5 column where I write it after the race. Still doing like a post race podcast, stuff like that. But a lot of it kind of reminds me almost of like when I was at NASCAR Scene, where you're really using the weekend for reporting and gathering for stories rather than instantly reporting on what's happening on the weekend. So like, I'll give you an example. So like say at Daytona, Denny Hamlin's talking about the tire stuff, the uncontrolled tire penalties. And he goes off in a rant kind of thing about, well, that's in the media center, so it's going to be covered by everybody there.
Right.
If you didn't already watch it on the live stream. So for our purposes, my boss is like, don't write about that. Mm-hmm. Like that's basically ignore that and move on to something else. Because if you're going to subscribe to The Athletic, the last thing we want is for everybody to feel like they already got that somewhere else. They already saw that somewhere else. They need to be getting stuff that is just some stuff they can only find there, really, if possible. So the weekend really is about trying to like schedule interviews or try to find stories or gather for stories that that everybody else is not going to be writing, because otherwise what's the point of people paying for the website? You know what I mean?
That's right.
So it's a very different, I still have to cover stuff that's going on the weekend, but it's a lot more planning, like, hey, can I talk to you when I get to this race or whatever? Just because, and that's sort of challenging, just try to come up with different stuff that's not being, if I see a mob of media go after this, I almost have to tell myself, I mean, I can tweet that. Sure, I can tweet about it and fill in people news-wise, but as far as writing something, it's not worth it. It has to be different.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and I think that is the exact approach that Rusty and I have taken to do this podcast, even though it's a small outlet for now. Maybe it'll grow, but we'll see. But we don't want to do the news. We want to do the color behind the news, and it makes perfect sense that that's what The Athletic would want from you because of the reasons that you already mentioned. That you don't want to be, you don't want to be going head to head with ESPN's beat writer or Fox's beat writer or NBC's beat writer. Like, in order to differentiate yourself, you got to be finding a different thing.
Well, true. And because, uniquely nowadays with all the free media that's out there, you can for free get all the news. You can for free get at least top-level analysis stuff. And that's something that, obviously, Jeff, I'm sure you're always trying to bring value to that subscription fee that's there. And it's something that's a little foreign, I think, to folks right now. Is, well, subscribe to something online and pay for it. Well, shoot, I can just get the news if I want it. But what I have seen, me and Sherwin are both separate subscribers.
Thanks.
But the stuff that comes out is at such another level that you have to have this. You know, this is the number one now. When I'm looking for not news, when I'm looking for stories nowadays, I'm like, hey, what's Gluck saying? What's Jordan Bianchi saying? What's going on The Athletic? Because it's just that next level that's going on. So being able to challenge yourself like that every day, I think that's really cool. So kudos.
Well, thank you.
Thanks. It feels like a lot of your career has been trailblazing in a lot of ways. Between doing the and hey, Portland Trailblazers, right? You're going out there. But trailblazing different, like the whole Patreon thing. I mean, you were the first in the space to do that, and then going over to The Athletic, it's like, hey, here's NASCAR or here's motorsports behind a paywall, but look at the content you get. This is so cool. So it's I find it really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not very good at taking compliments, but I will say that a lot of the stuff that's happened to me has sort of been out of necessity, although this one wasn't. But like when I was at NASCAR Scene, that was my dream job. I was a subscriber, and for those of you who it was probably gone before some people even became NASCAR fans, but it was like, they called it like the Bible of the sport back in the day, and it was a weekly NASCAR magazine that was just filled with stuff, and they had all these writers. We'd send like 5 writers to one race, and we had no website at the time when I started, and you'd just spend the whole weekend talking to people and reporting for stories, and it was just like, it was so fun because you could really sink your teeth into stuff and really do good writing, and there was no deadline pressure except for the end of the weekend, obviously. And I wanted to stay there would have been happy to stay there forever. But then the magazine shut down, being how magazines are. And then so I was kind of forced, the thing that popped up was to go to SB Nation, and SB Nation at the time was nothing. And people, gave me a real hard time about it. Even some tracks, were stingy about letting me have the full access anymore, even though I had been a NASCAR writer. So that was a hard time, but that kind of worked out because that was like sort of when sports blogging was kind of starting to come up. And then USA Today stuff was more back to the traditional route. And then obviously, most people know, they wouldn't let me move. And so I quit that to start my own thing. So it's just been, I don't know, all these different outlets that I've sort of been on. It's been a weird path of like going traditional, non-traditional, traditional, non-traditional. Mm-hmm. So this is sort of back to the non-traditional thing that feels like it's in the like on our Slack chat for work. Like there's just this vibe that everybody feels like it's growing and on the way up, and they're hiring people all the time, and there's excitement, and it's where USA Today even, it just felt like, oh, this person's leaving, now this person's leaving, oh, now we're having to cut this. So it's a fun vibe right now, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But thank you for your very kind words. I appreciate that.
Well, if you are uncomfortable with kind words, don't read the chat wall right now on YouTube, because they're giving you all the props that are well deserved there. You talked about the podcast. You called it the Teardown Podcast, I believe. And
yes.
You know what? We're going to go ahead and, deserved or not, we're going to go ahead and stake a claim that we were at least maybe subconsciously a influence on that, seeing as how we have our Teardown segment that we're about to get to.
Oh, maybe that's where I heard. It's funny because I was talking about. They said you need to come up with a name. You need to come up with a name for the podcast. And I was talking on the phone with Jordan, and I was like, the inspection was kind of on the topic, on everybody's tongues at the time. And I was like, what do we call the teardown? Does anybody have a teardown? Anybody do something teardown? He's like, I don't think so. I was like, yeah, but maybe subconsciously, that's what I remember it from. So maybe I completely ripped you guys off and stole it and didn't even realize it.
You know what?
Well, I have texted you or tweeted you or DM'd you before about saying I'm pretty sure I just stole this idea from you, and you were like, it was a concept. You didn't steal my content, right. So it's fine.
Yeah. No, we if anything, if we were a subconscious influencer, I am beyond proud of that. I doubt that was the case, but
it probably was because it's a good name. And I was like, I feel like I've heard this somewhere, but I couldn't remember it all.
Love it.
But probably Karma, because as you may have noticed, the logo for the Teardown very much looks like Heat Ear Down. I don't know why the graphic designer did not put the outline of the T, but so we're sort of Heat Ear Down. I don't even know if we're actually the Teardown.
Well, on that note, let's go ahead, Sherwin, and tear it down.
I was going to say, I was like, I'm going to give Jordan Bianchi some stuff here in a little while, but now we got the report card and the teardown.
That's right. Let's do it. First period. Y'all know what we talk about. Talk about last week's race. Harvick and SHR getting its win. Gluck, what's this mean for SHR? I mean, it's got to be, a good shot in the arm. No, that's bad. What's a good thing? A shot in the butt?
Breaking the bubble, maybe?
Yeah, whatever it is. You're better with words than us. You do this for a living.
I think it's oddly, and Greg Zipadelli kind of said this after the race too, I don't know that it means anything. And I know that's weird, but Greg Zipadelli went out of his way after the race to say, I know it's been well documented that we started the season off, we went the wrong direction to start everything, but this doesn't mean we're back, and we still have a long, long, long way to go to get competitive. And I kind of felt that same way. Like, Harvick, he had, again, a top 5 car, which he's had a top 5 car consistently. I don't think they brought the fastest car. I think Kyle Busch had the fastest car. Harvick was able to stay out and use aero to beat 2 fresher tires. I don't even know if he had the 3rd fastest car there, really. He was able to win, which is great, but I still think if you're going to go to a race and you're just going to say who's the favorite here, if you're going off speed, you're picking the Gibbs cars, you're picking Penske, maybe even some of the Hendrick cars at races recently. But SHR as a whole, I haven't really seen much out of Almirola. Suarez, Boyer's he's struggling to make the playoffs. So Harvick's still got top 5 speed, but they're not where they need to be still. They said they all vowed we're going to get there, but so I don't know if this really ultimately means much aside from Harvick's officially locked in. As weird as that is.
Well, especially because this track format and the geometry is not really. There's nothing else that's left on the schedule that replicates what this race is.
Yeah. What did Hamlin need in the final laps that he didn't have to get there?
Well, he was pretty convinced that he wasn't going to get there at all until he thought Harvick made a mistake. He was, after the race, he was talking about how floored he was that Harvick essentially went to the bottom and gave Hamlin a chance to get a run off the top. But I asked Harvick about it, and Harvick said that all the lap cars were where he was trying to go, and then once he got in dirty air, his car suddenly wasn't as good, and that was the only way to get back into clean air for a second. And that allowed Hamlin to catch him. But other than that, we saw that 2 fresher tires wasn't going to overcome that deficit until Harvick kind of got boxed in for a second there, which is, again, kind of interesting about the whole rules package stuff. But Hamlin's explanation was super interesting about how he just, he could have gone in there and plowed Harvick up the track, but he just really, really didn't want to. He did not want to win that way, which Harvick would have won that way with no second thoughts, right?
Right.
But I think that Hamlin, somewhere in the back of his mind, that Chase Elliott stuff from Martinsville really echoes with him.
Yeah.
Really resonated with him. And he did not like how he was treated after that. Because I really don't think that was intentional the way that turned out. But he was like branded with a black mark after that. So I think he goes out of his way now to show, hey, I can win cleanly. And by trying to win cleanly, or at least fair and square straight up, he threw away a chance to win.
De Benedetto.
Yeah.
I was going to move on to that. De Benedetto, with his second top 5 finish this year, Sherwin, to me, that's not a fluke anymore. This team's doing something. What's going on?
Yeah, well, I think Bob Levine is definitely, is putting his best foot forward to give De Di Benedetto the best car that he can give him.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he's the next Barney Visser. We don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
But that appears to be the approach that he is trying to take. And he's found a driver that can get it done.
Yeah, doing really good stuff in that car. Gluck, what do you think?
I mean, I think that he's a guy, it's a great example of, there's probably 25 drivers out there in the series or out there in the NASCAR world who, if you put them in that situation, in decent equipment, after they haven't been in decent equipment, that they can really do something. I mean, I really even think like a Corey LaJoie, obviously a Ross Chastain, hell, Reed Sorensen's still out there, Landon Castle.
Mm-hmm.
I think these guys, if you put them in top equipment and give them a shot, like we all get so hung up on these drivers at the top teams and thinking that they're the best drivers. And in a lot of cases they are. Kyle Busch, people like that. But I think that there's a lot of guys out there that we trick ourselves into not thinking it's the equipment sometimes as much as it is. I just think that's a big thing that we always, and then because we're all humans, we think I'm guilty of this as anybody. We think this guy's driving harder or more motivated now, and that's why he's winning, or and it's just, it really comes down to they got the cars right or they didn't get the cars right.
It's an interesting conversation to have to try to figure out, is it the driver, is it the car, or what combination of both is it? Because I think you're right. I think if you put Ross in Kevin Harvick's car, he's going to do well.
After he pees on it or something, because they had that whole thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, you definitely have to do that. But that's just a singular example. But yeah. I think you're right. I think the overall discussion is about how do we get good race car drivers into good race cars, because that seems to be what the challenge is with all the sponsorship stuff.
Yeah, and underscore that whole point. Look at the top 7. I stop at 7 for a reason, because then we start getting into things that don't make my point. So that's what it's all about, right? But after Harvick and Hamlin, we're talking about Jones, Blaney, Di Benedetto. Truex was in there. You'd expect him up there. Newman. That's not the top 7 that you might pick out of a hat, or not even pick out of a hat, pick out of your brain going into that. But interestingly, like I said, I think that sort of underscores it. The Gluck poll, we love talking about the Gluck poll, and so to have Mr. Gluck on here to talk about it, slightly lower than last year, but had a pretty strong overall performance. Jeff, what do you think were some of the major factors there this year?
Well, I was kind of struck by, when I did my post-race podcast with Jordan Bianchi, he didn't seem to love the race, and he said that he was going to guess it was low 70s. I guessed low 80s. Mm-hmm. Watching from the press box, I mean, I'm not saying it was like a great race necessarily, like the most amazing race ever, but for New Hampshire, I thought it was a pretty good race overall throughout. I mean, I was watching battles and guys try to get around each other, and by the end of it, I mean, I thought, oh, it was a pretty good race. So I think the poll reflects that, but I was thinking that maybe this was one of those races where it didn't show up as well on TV maybe as it did in person, and I think that happens. Sometimes I hear people say that, and I go, I don't really buy that, because I'm at the track, and it was really boring at the track too. And people blame TV. Oh, they didn't show all the battles. There's actually battles through the whole field, but they didn't show it. And I'm at the track, and I saw the whole thing in the press box, and I'm like, nah, it sucked. You know what I mean? Not the New Hampshire one, but I'm just talking about a general race where this happens. But in this case, I thought maybe it was better in person, because some people on Twitter were like, the ending was good. But I really thought the whole thing was pretty decent overall.
Yeah. We'll move on to second period. Speaking of Di Benedetto, we can be quick about this one, but it was picked up by so many outlets that I thought it would be interesting to talk about. He lost 10 pounds during the race, evidently. It's 94 degrees outside. I would say that's probably pretty Rare for New Hampshire, but maybe not. I don't know this time of year. So 110 plus, maybe even 120 in the cars. A lot of dehydration issues. We know the deal with Casey Kane, at the end of his NASCAR career there. With all this talk about that stuff, does it feel like this is a new-ish thing? Not new, necessarily brand new, but is it happening more often right now? Or is this, I don't know, something that's always kind of been there and we hadn't really talked about as much because we're so much more aware now of the physiological conditions going on in the car?
I think a couple things. First of all, I think with this package, they require that they run that right side window.
There you go.
Every race now, even the short tracks. So the Xfinity guys this same weekend got to have that window open, which obviously brought more air in. There's not as much air moving around inside the cars now for Cup. So that could be one thing. But I will say this. There's been sort of a development. I'm not sure when exactly this happened, but a lot of the big teams now have like a belly blower, and they're using like some sort of a fan to blow. It's like almost like a belt thing around the stomach, and it hooks into the stomach and it blows air up the fire suit in addition to the helmet blower. Now the smaller teams can't afford that yet or don't have that technology yet. But I actually think that might be keeping the drivers in general a little bit cooler than they might have been otherwise, or a little bit more relieved. I understand it's really hot inside the car, but I think to counteract that, they've figured out ways where the drivers aren't just cooking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not. I mean, I get that it's super hot, but I think that it's still, and it's the air conditioning that's blowing on them is not like putting your head next to your car air conditioner and having that freezing cold air come out. It's more just like movement of air. Mm-hmm. But it's still, it's not like being in a hot lock car with no windows like Keselowski was saying about Tyrann Matthew couldn't stand 8 minutes and we can. I think it's a little bit different than that.
Yeah, I think what we've heard about what that cooling device is able to do is 20 to 25 degrees lower than what the air input is. So if the air input is 140 degrees, as we've seen at some of these races, then you're still getting 115 degree air blown at you.
Mm-hmm. Sherwin, third period, playoffs. Is it too early to start talking playoffs? Maybe not. We got.
I don't know. I mean, Jeff's over there laughing.
Or coughing. I'm not sure which one.
Coughing.
I mean,
or cough laughing. So the bubble picture. I think what this is what it is for me is that whole bubble picture is starting to shape up. You're starting to see the guys. These are the guys who are going to be contending for it. Now that group might shrink as we get closer and closer, but I don't think you're going to see the names drastically change one way or the other. So it's okay, maybe in my book, to start talking about it. When we're talking about in versus out right now, that's a little weird.
Justin Haley is not in. Right, how about we just go ahead and throw that out?
So we've got, Larson, Jones, Newman, and Boyer in that order above the line right now. Jimmy, Suarez, Menard below that line with, Larson, Jones, and maybe on the top side being maybe comfortable-ish, and Menard possibly, he'd need to make
has a chance.
Big swings,
yeah.
Right? But that's what it looks like right now. If we were to start shrinking that list, the names off the top and bottom right there would start, coming together. But it looks like possibly Newman, Boyer, Jimmy, Suarez.
I think any of those guys in the top 9 they're good. So you're right. We need to talk about the bubble that's between, probably 10 and 20.
Yeah,
and sort that out.
And even maybe I put them a little tighter than that on here, just with 7 names right there. But Jeff, what do you think? Too early to start talking about it, or are these guys, starting to focus a little more on this stuff?
No, I mean, there's only isn't there only 6 races left till the playoffs?
That sounds about right.
Playoffs?
Yeah, I think there's only 6 races left. So no, it's definitely up in high gear at this point, especially because some of the races can be unpredictable coming up. I mean, Pocono, Michigan, you control your own destiny,
Watkins Glen,
so to speak. Darlington, control your own destiny. Indy, you control your own destiny. But Watkins Glen and Bristol, I mean, anything could happen there, right? So you kind of want to get your
Kyle Busch
position.
could win any of those.
Yeah.
Well,
he's won all of them.
I think too. Like I keep looking at the standings with Newman up there, and I just don't believe in that team for whatever reason.
Isn't that every year though? When has Newman made it in like the last 10 years that we've been like, oh yeah, Newman, all right. Like it's so
That's
weird
true.
to me. Every year I repeat the same thing that you just said myself.
Well,
and at some point I got to believe.
He's a very consistent driver, and he he gets solid finishes when you don't expect it. But I just feel like is Newman really going to get in at the expense of Jimmy Johnson, who I still think Jimmy Johnson's the greatest driver of all time, ever.
Yes.
So
seconded.
I know it's not showing up on the track right now, but I don't think it's age. I just think that's probably this rules package doesn't suit him very well. But I still feel like Jimmy's going to get in. I mean, how could Jimmy not get in? He's never missed, right?
Yeah.
He's never missed.
He's never missed, and I feel like he probably just hasn't figured it out yet, and the rest of the field has benefited from that. Like, at some point, he's going to figure it out. Like, why does this car drive so weird? Okay.
Yeah, he's had a couple of figure-out races, right, where I mean, he's top 5'd it. Hell, I picked Jimmy the last 2 weeks in a row to win. I've got faith, man.
Yeah, it was
faith.
It was
Way
the same
too much
thing
faith.
early in the season. We were talking about Martin Truex. It's like eventually he's going to win, right? And then he just blasted off 3 in 5 weeks?
Yeah, or close to it, whatever it was. Yeah. So, playoffs. There you go.
Playoffs.
And obviously, we'll be talking more and more about it as we go in. Fourth period. So I think we've brought up maybe it's either 3 or 4 episodes in a row or like 4 out of the past 6 or something like that. We keep bringing up this esports thing, dude. And
Here we go. You just triggered me.
and I knew this was a trigger for Jeff Gluck since we've been talking about it.
So yeah,
So 2 things. Number 1, we're on the heels of NBC announcing these live races that are going to be shown soon, and knowing that Jordan Bianchi just wrote an article on the in the Athletic about it, and knowing that this is a Jeff Gluck trigger word, I can't wait.
I think I'm on the side of Jeff with this, but go ahead, Jeff.
All right, here's the thing, guys. And I've actually never really fully. People ask me all the time, "Why are you so against this?" or blah blah. I almost wrote a column when I was still in the JeffGluck.com days about why and laying it out. And I just thought it's not worth it. And I've never really gone into a full rant or explain my whole reasoning. So here we are. I've saved it for this show all along. I just
Pour y'all another drink. Let's have it.
So here's the thing about esports. Okay, first of all, I'm not against iRacing. I respect people who do iRacing. I think it's extremely hard and difficult. You have to get your setups right. It's very realistic, no doubt. I mean, drivers use it to practice and get. I mean, nothing wrong with iRacing at all. I'm specifically talking about the esport of competing in iRacing, as like trying to sell this as like the next big thing. I keep getting DMs and Twitter messages and all this stuff from people who are active in this and saying, get on board or get left behind, or you really need to be covering us. Like you're an old man, blah, blah, blah. Like they have a very arrogant approach to this, and they think that they're going to become like League of Legends type of stuff. That game where they fill to watch that esport.
Yep.
People sell out stadiums in Korea and all over the world to watch them. That's a actual, real, true esports phenomenon where people are obsessed with this game. They play it all over the place. There's championships, there's teams, and NASCAR. I feel like those who are in NASCAR, the RTA, those teams, they're in it for the wrong reasons, which is they think they're going to be doing that and making money off that. They think there's going to be so many people watching these broadcasts and so many people that they're going to be able to sell sponsorship, and it's going to be this huge thing. And they've heard that young people like it, so we got to get in this. They don't really know why it's big. They just know it's big. So let's get in this. Let's sell money, sell some sponsorship. Let's get money from it. We'll pay these guys, whatever. But here's the thing, in my opinion. When you're watching League of Legends or some of these sports where, like PUBG, even online, somebody playing Twitch, first-person shooter games, those are things that you can't participate in the real world or watch in the real world. Racing, really simulated realistic racing, there actually is something that you could watch exactly like that at the exact tracks, and it's called NASCAR on NBC or NASCAR on Fox every Sunday. You can actually go and see it in real life, the actual real cars. So why, if those ratings are in the millions, and there aren't millions and millions and millions and millions of people watching those every Sunday each week, why do they think that there's going to be this huge, massive movement to watch a simulated version of that when a real life version of that exists? I think that some of these streams, it's great to be getting into it maybe as like a marketing tool to try to get younger people interested in racing, but to try to sell it as like, this is the next big thing. This is where our drivers are going to come from. Get on board or get left behind. That kind of stuff. I don't think that that's going to be the case. And if they had a different approach about it, like, hey, we're trying something cool. We'd like you to check it out. It's our little corner of the internet universe. We think we have something cool going on here. Give us a try. I think that would be different. I'd be more receptive to it. But bottom line is, I'm telling you, people are in my DMs. Hey, I just got signed from this XX team. I feel like you should write a story about me. I have blah, 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 blah. I sell merchandise. Blah, blah. Can you retweet my merchandise post for T-shirts of my blah, 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 this guy that races on Xbox and NASCAR Heat or whatever. And I'm like,
weird.
Dude, I just don't see that as like, people really want to read about these guys right now versus even reading about the 25th place driver in the Cup Series who doesn't get enough coverage? I feel like I need to devote resources to the guys who are actually putting their lives on the line, risking life and limb to go out there and do this each week. So nothing against people who enjoy iRacing. I think that's awesome. I wish I had time to do it. I used to love playing even NASCAR video games. I know that's not the same as iRacing. iRacing is at another level, but even what is the equivalent of NASCAR Heat now? I got way more interested in NASCAR in general from NASCAR 05. That was like one of the greatest games of all time. I spent hundreds of hours on that probably, But I just don't think that if you're trying to give me a hard sell on this and say you have to watch this and we are the future, I just don't buy it. That's all.
What was the game that we played when we were in our, I don't know, I would say early to mid-20s on N64 when you were still in the apartment with Waylon?
You're talking about you're talking about a NASCAR game? You're talking about I was like when we used to play.
NASCAR. 8 tires are better than one.
007
that game.
Thing or whatever. Yeah. Where we just, every
I
lap.
think it was NASCAR 05 or 04, one of those two. And it was like we'd play Martinsville, and you just crash into the guy next to you because 8 tires are better than one or 4.
Here are the counterpoints that I'm going to put together. Okay, I will put together, or I'll make this argument, and I'm not expecting Jeff to agree, and I'm not saying I'm changing mine or either, but it's good to get the perspectives. I think number one, NASCAR pushes the boundaries more than any other sport. They go into the new frontier. They trailblaze more than any other sport. Who was the first sport in Twitter?
Oh, NASCAR dominated Twitter before anybody else did.
Absolutely, and even if some of the other players and stuff.
That.
What's that?
I don't buy that.
You don't?
No, I think that NASCAR was slow in some ways and behind. I feel like NASCAR is behind on a lot of stuff in some ways.
Well, behind on a lot of stuff, but I feel like we were, or that NASCAR at least, they did Twitter right the first. I don't know how to describe it. I can't talk to a...
Jeff, you and Marty Smith and Casey Kane are the first 3 people I followed on Twitter
in 2010.
Yeah, and it's because I was like, and y'all are the reason why I joined Twitter, and so based on,
I think early on, with the Keselowski, Daytona 500 tweet and stuff like that. I think that was huge for NASCAR and pushing it forward, but I feel like the NBA at that time was really kicking their butt. I remember NBA got 1 million followers in NASCAR at the time. NASCAR's Twitter account had only had 100,000 Twitter followers.
No. So hold on a second. The NASCAR account sucks. At NASCAR is one of the crappiest accounts that supports NASCAR. It's and people
if you don't want to use that measurement, then that definitely lessens my argument, because I was saying
no. The NASCAR they suck.
Well, let me keep going with this though. Let me keep going with this. Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry.
So
I rudely interrupted.
No, that's cool. We're talking about analogs. How about something like Guitar Hero or Rock Band or something, where you could go watch Kansas, or you could watch a guy play the solo for Kansas, Carry On My Wayward Son. On YouTube on Guitar Hero. This ain't even the guy. This isn't the instrument, and this isn't the place. But people are still watching that thing. So I think there are other places where there's analogs where there's a real life thing that you could watch. You could go watch the music video for Kansas doing this, or a live concert of them, or you could watch this guy just in his living room doing it. But it's that high score concept. It's that video game concept. And my next point: where are the kids right now? You kind of touched on this, Jeff, which is. The kids right now they're on Twitch. They're on these spaces where they are watching this stuff. If we can give them another thing to look at, another thing to click on that says, hey, here's dudes racing iRacing or on Xbox or whatever. I think that's an opening, an open door is what they're giving it. And finally, we talked to John Wood last week talking about sponsorships. He was all excited about, the sponsorship opportunities they had and stuff. So at least right now, there's opportunities there. So I'm not, you can tear my argument down point by point too, but at least I feel like there's a counter to a degree. Do I think this is the next greatest, biggest thing? No, this isn't. This isn't going to be millions of followers. This isn't going to be, filling a stadium. Me and my wife went to an event with the new Street Fighter game. And we thought it was going to be like a lot of fans there of the Street Fighter people that were playing on stage. It wasn't. It was more like being in a studio audience where they're like, hey, you should cheer now. You should laugh now. You should hold up these signs that we made for you now. So there is a little bit of the contrived thing, even watching esports on TV right now. But it's so new here. Korea's not a great... I don't know. They do it so different, and they're so big into it.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I thought
that's where I'll stop.
I thought, what John said, last week was interesting. That when they did the RTA draft, there's two different platforms. There's iTunes and then there's Xbox. And he's like, well,
not iTunes, PS4, right?
PS4 and Xbox.
Yeah, PS4 and
PS4 and Xbox. And he deliberately tried to tank so that he could get the first pick in one of those series.
Yeah, they're already strategizing.
Yeah, and so obviously they care about it.
Right.
So it's something at some point we're maybe going to have to care about, but I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to watch it.
I'm probably going to watch it because I'm really interested in where this whole space is going. And again, I'm attuned to other esports arenas. And
we talked about that during the conversation with John. That it's like, I like watching you play Red Dead Revolver. I can drink to that. It was fun. It is fun, but I don't know that I can get into regularly supporting somebody else racing cars in a video game.
Yeah, I watch.
That's my thing. I feel like, and again, that's where the difference just comes in, because I was, oh my gosh, I spent so much time on Grand Theft Auto 5. It's ridiculous. This is obviously my pre-dad days.
Are you talking about me?
I got, every single little secret of that game. I got 100% on the maximum thing you can do or whatever, to try to, where you had to go on every little side mission. And I enjoyed watching other people play it because they were better than I am. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh, I could never do those kind of tricks and stuff they know how to do. But if I want to watch someone race, or I want to watch cars going around a track, I feel like I would just watch actual cars going around a track. To watch somebody else play a racing game is not as interesting to me as other kinds of games. And I know people say it's not games, it's sim stuff. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'll call it a video game. I don't, doesn't bother me.
It's a video game to me.
NASCAR Heat's a game. NASCAR Heat's definitely a game, but iRacing's not a game. I've been corrected.
Fair,
it's
I guess.
It's a sim. So please don't call it a game, they said, or else they'll get very mad at you.
It's a game, Jeff.
Here's what makes it a game. Can you win? Yes. Can you die?
No.
Like, can you crash into the wall and press this reset button? Yep. All right.
Can you get hurt doing it? No.
Yeah, we're in a game. It's fine by me. And if they want to say it's not a game, fine. I'll respect you if you think, okay, well, this is whatever. I really hate the whole is blah 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 a sport, or is blah 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 a game, or is blah blah blah. Like, let's just get off of that.
It's not very hard to say what is and what is not a sport. Does it require some serious physical exertion? That's a sport.
Okay.
Playing a video game does not.
Interesting that you went. I would have to. I could maybe come up with some. I'll have to think about that one. And maybe next show come up with some counter arguments just for the sake of fun.
And I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's definitely a counter argument. Sorry, I distracted you from the fact that we need to move to the next thing.
That's fine. Fifth period. Kelly Crandall, who I've finally learned to pronounce her name. I got so much ish on Twitter because I keep saying Kelly Crandall.
I think you got more ish from me, actually, than you actually did on
everything.
Twitter.
It's like, it rhymes with candle. I'm like, oh, well, nobody ever told me. So, fair enough. Kelly Crandall reporting in Racer Magazine that NASCAR IndyCar combo weekend, we've talked about it before, but it's at least had conversations among the brass and with NBC. Like, Indy is aware of this in the brass level. NBC's people know about it. Not just know about it, but
now they own both products,
right?
From a television perspective.
So we've got the Pocono double next year, which, I mean, that's the hottest ticket in sports right now, or in motorsports at least.
Waiting on them to release tickets,
right?
I mean, we're going. Yeah, that's happening.
Yeah, and so our double headers going to be something that we can start taking more seriously, entertain a bit more. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's going to be something that people look at as sort of easy, low-hanging fruit in some ways to enhance the schedule, whether it's bringing different series together or combining events to give fans more for a weekend, which also shortens the schedule. I'm very intrigued and excited to see how Pocono will work unless it rains, just because I think NASCAR fans aren't going to have seen something like that with two races back to back, the format, however they choose to do it, qualifying, who knows. So I'm very interested in it, just because if you just have two separate Pocono races on two different weekends, 6 weeks apart or whatever, bleh. But when you just take them and put them on the same weekend, all of a sudden it's like, dang, I can't wait to see how it's going to work. It's going to be awesome. Wow, it's going to be interesting. Just little things like that can have so much power to shake up the schedule, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Do you think that there's a possibility that they might bring two different race packages to force teams to bring two different kinds of cars to that weekend?
Ooh,
I think the opposite. I think that they'll want to brag that, and I don't know how it would work if they just let them change their engines, but I think they would want to show that, hey, we had several teams use the same car for two races on back-to-back days. So that shows you, and obviously it wouldn't be the major teams, but the smaller teams maybe. So that shows you that we helped save them money because they only had to use this car and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? I think I don't all the race teams right now, this is a whole like untold part of this whole rules package problem, is that NASCAR didn't want to have to use the same package for the intermediate tracks and short tracks this year. They didn't want the one-size-fits-all rules package. The teams forced them to do that. They wouldn't agree to let them have different rules packages because I said, that's going to cost too much money. Don't make us spend so much money. We can't spend so much money. Just give us one rules package. So the RTA is so powerful, the charter agreements, all that stuff. They basically overruled what NASCAR wanted to do. So NASCAR had to do a one-size-fits-all package. And, yeah, it's made the intermediates better, but has not – I think it's hurt the shorter tracks. So, yeah, I don't think that NASCAR would bring two different ones just because the teams would flip out and be like, I don't want to spend that much.
Well, I mean, it's fair.
Well,
I don't think that's necessarily complaining.
They've marketed that perspective for years on the NASCAR side, that they wanted to try to save teams money. And we have 3 different motor platforms right now.
Yeah.
So, like, what?
Yeah. I hear you.
Like,
I hear you. What the hell? For me, this is the definition of that business type of word, synergy, right? And synergy is where, as an individual, you're a 1 and I'm a 1, but if we get together, 1 + 1 = 3. You know, you get more output because of that.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with the word. So, in my perspective, go to Pocono in June. Go to Pocono in July. Go to the Pocono doubleheader. I don't care when it is, where it is. Well, we know where it is, but I don't care when it is. We're going. You know, like that's.
Yeah.
I think that's a synergy for me that I think we can duplicate if we're talking about looking at NASCAR and Indy on the same weekend. Sherwin, tell me a track you wouldn't go to if NASCAR and Indy were the same weekend. You know.
I don't have an answer for that.
Right, there's not one.
I couldn't come up with one off the top of my head.
The fact
that they've decided that they're potentially going to run 800 miles or not 800 laps. Excuse me.
Yeah.
1,200 miles at Pocono in the same weekend. I'm in.
Right. So,
but I don't think they will. I don't think they will for that part, though.
Actually, it would be more than that. I did the math wrong.
Whatever the math is, that part doesn't matter. What matters is, for me,
it would be 2,000.
Getting those things together is another one of those can't miss.
Yeah.
And if they can keep coming up with stuff, whether it be double headers, whether it be or double headers that are both NASCAR races, Cup races, or double headers with Indy NASCAR weekend, I think they can create this. Can't miss event 4 or 5 times a year even, and that can get stuff invigorating,
especially at a place like Sonoma or Watkins Glen, or if we can figure out a way whenever NASCAR finishes their acquisition of all the the major track companies, like to do Elkhart Lake and have Cup and Indy there, like that could be huge.
Yeah. We'll move on to recess from NASCAR on Reddit. Today is the 8-year anniversary of the legendary pre-race invocation by Pastor Joe Knowles.
Oh, yeah.
Gave thanks to the cars, the fuel, the tires, his smoking hot wife, boogity, 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 amen. So the question here in recess...
And that was at Memphis, wasn't it?
I can't remember where it was.
I think it was a Memphis, at the time, nationwide race.
Yeah, I believe it was nationwide.
Either that or Nashville.
Yeah.
Nashville.
Probably
okay.
Nashville.
Sorry.
Yeah. Jeff, what do you look for in a pre-race, whether it's invocation or command or flyover? What's something that captures your attention?
It captures my attention when they are too long-winded or something. Just like it's the same with the command, invocation or command, really. I don't like. I mean, and I feel bad saying this, right? Oh, this is not gonna play.
No,
well.
let it rip.
There's a dude before New Hampshire, this last weekend, right, for the command, and he says, "I'd like to dedicate this to my nephew. He passed away. Blah blah." I'm very respectful of that. I feel awful. I mean, that's very sad that happened. But I don't think that the command to start engines is the right time for that. The command to start engines is not an advertisement. It's not it's literally drivers start your engines as passionately and loud as you can go. The invocation, when it goes down weird ways and stuff too, I'm like, come on, just and even the national anthem when it goes off on weird, you're just like, can we not just do this respectfully
Sing
here?
the damn
but
song.
I will say that the boogity 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 amen, for those of you, I'm sure most of you know this, but that was made into a songify thing from the Gregory Brothers, the Shmo Yoho thing, where the people that do the songify the news. Oh my gosh, this song that they made out of that, it's on YouTube. It is good. I have to warn you though, it will get in your head. Like, it is a very, very catchy song. I can sing all the lyrics to that song, I'm pretty sure, because it's awesome. It's a really good song. Like, the chorus is like, boogity, 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 amen. Bless the drivers and use them tonight. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife. Like, it's catchy. It's catchy.
I love
So
it.
if you go watch it on YouTube, it will get in your head. You will watch it multiple times. And so if you can have an invocation that gave us that, I mean, geez, okay, I'll let that go.
Yeah, love it. Sherwin, let's move on. You know what? We got to go hats off here for Nick Harrison, crew chief for Colleague Racing, and Justin Haley in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah.
Passed away yesterday.
Hats off and glasses up.
Unexpectedly, 37 years old. You know, last week I turned 37, so it's like one of those sort of wake up, like, dang, you know, what can happen to anybody?
Just a youngin', man. Just a youngin'.
I ain't old yet, so yeah. Tough deal. Jeff, have you ever had any interactions with Nick or anything?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I knew him super well, but I mean,
Sure.
he was very, especially like when he was Kurt Busch's crew chief, like during the Phoenix racing days.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, like it was kind of necessary to go talk to him because like maybe Kurt had a bad race and left, and then he was sort of like Nick Harrison was sort of left to explain what happened or something. And he was a character. He was very funny, like very love of life type guy. You know, very like kind of old school mechanic type guy, not the engineering polished type. He was like the old school racer type guy. Really, you know, he was a good quote. I will say that. So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of shocking, or not kind of shocking, really shocking to see that. And you can tell the impact it had on the garage. I mean, all the tributes. I'm sure you guys saw all the drivers and people saying stuff like, "Man, I mean." People that he didn't even work with, people that he knew them and would give them encouragement. And I just thought, I saw some of those tributes and just thought, man, like if you're gonna go, isn't that like what you would want people to say about you? Like kind of stuff people were saying about him, like that he was always friendly, that he was funny, that he was personable, that he was kind to people. You know, they give you a big hug or whatever and encourage you. I mean, that's you know, this kind of legacy you'd want to leave behind, but at the same time, you don't want to have to leave a legacy at 37 years old. You know, like that's
never met a stranger is, I think, the best.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to put it, Jeff.
Quote
I
I saw.
I like that. We'll move on to Ask PTM. Andrew Cantian at KHANTZIAN. We'll kind of do a lightning round here. He said he went fishing with a neighbor, and he noticed the neighbor noticed that Cantian was watching the New Hampshire race. He says, "Is there anyone left in NASCAR? Is NASCAR?" Well, that was his question. Is there anyone left in NASCAR? So, Kensian asking, is NASCAR lacking star power that can attract new/more casual fans, and is NASCAR making the mistake of marketing these young drivers who have had little success? Kensian, here's my thing. I really love the current young crop more than perhaps I have in the last 10 years in terms of really cool people who are tuned into the communication methods, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, etc. I mean, Bubba Wallace walking out there and throwing football with the crowd during rain delays and stuff.
Did you see what he did today?
No, what did he do today?
So over the weekend, Richard, like, just out of the blue, walked up when he wasn't paying attention and signed his arm. And he said, "If I get 43,000 retweets, this is going to be a tattoo."
Oh, God. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Andrew, I think this current crop is, I say crop, I mean, you know, I'm treating them like freaking corn or something or throwaway. But no, this current class of folks, I've been more excited about this class of young guns than I have since at least I've been paying attention. Gluck, what do you think?
I think that this current class can satisfy the current fan base. Like, you know, if Chase Elliott can win a lot of races and keep being a popular driver, or Blaney, you know, but I don't think that they're the kind of guys who can really go beyond, transcend the sport kind of thing and have an impact marketing themselves in New York or LA, you know, become Hollywood stars kind of thing. Like a Dale Jr., or a Jeff Gordon or even a Tony Stewart. There's some ways a Carl Edwards.
You just mentioned a bunch of Hall of Famers, by the way.
Well, I think there's Hall of Famers in the sport right now, future Hall of Famers. There's Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano. I think, a Truex, a Denny Hamlin. But yeah. I think that NASCAR, they realize that those guys, Harvick, yeah, I mean, those guys, NASCAR realized that they'd already been around. They already didn't have a huge fan base. So I think NASCAR was like, why are we going to put our money behind guys who our fans have already kind of decided they're not going to be a next Dale Jr. Let's try to see if we can elevate some of these young guys and see if we can strike gold with them. Mm-hmm. I think that the closest one they have right now in Cup is Bubba, but unfortunately he drives for a team that's not going to put him in a position to win.
Yep.
So if you could have Bubba winning races and being relevant and going toe-to-toe with these guys every week and clashing with a Harvick or Kyle Busch and being, really running up front, you got a possible game changer. I mean, people were so excited, and I'm not even saying because of his race. I think his personality alone, the race element of it will help the storylines beyond NASCAR, but the personality that he has is huge. I mean, it's a natural thing that you just can't teach, you can't force. That's there, but he's got to be relevant. We see with Boyer, he's got the best personality, but he doesn't win enough to really make an impact, I think, with the fan base. So now the one that I see that could really come along, now it's a long way to go and a lot would have to happen, but Hailie Deegan has got quite a personality herself.
Yep.
Obviously the female thing, the same way as Bubba, where that could sort of transcend the sport, but just the personality she has is so refreshing and interesting and unique. The way she approaches things and talks to the viewer on her live videos or her videos that she posts on Twitter or whatever, her attitude's refreshing or whatever. So if she got into Cup and she was like going toe-to-toe with some of these people and, spinning somebody for a win or something, holy cow. Like, that would be something that could really elevate NASCAR again. But other than that, I don't really see a ton of people out there right now. So I think I relate to the guy that was fishing with them, where right now, if I was going to walk downtown Portland, Oregon, and be like, hey, have you heard of a NASCAR driver? I just don't really think that most people could even name one right now.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair. So we know the baby Gluck has got to get to bed here soon, and we're running up against the time. We got one more question, and then we'll do some picks. So this one's for you, Gluck. Mick Rose at GoDucks42_Mick. With track position being so important, are pit crews feeling the pressure, and that's why we see an increase in the pit penalties? I know you kind of talked about pit penalties recently. What are your thoughts?
Well, remember that track position is a code word for can't pass, in my opinion. So when people talk about track position, and the announcers keep saying about how track position is so important, they're actually saying, well, it's because it's so hard to pass. It's almost impossible to pass. That's why you have to have track position. So, yeah, I think the pit crews are more important than ever, but I also think they're probably getting paid more because if you want to make sure that you're going to get spots or make up time or get out front to win these races, got to have a good pit crew. Can't have guys that make mistakes. So, yeah, I think they're probably feeling the pressure, but they're also feeling a nice bounce in their checkbook or their pocketbook, pocket, whatever. Who says pocketbook anymore?
Who says checkbook anymore?
That's funny.
That's true too.
Yeah, we want to do picks, but I could talk for days about what you just alluded
Let's go. Let me look on Find My Friends. I told Sarah to go for a walk with Liliana. So
well, if I told my wife to take a walk, there would be some repercussions.
maybe there. For those who didn't know, I told them that I had to get off thing here by 10 Eastern because I'm broadcasting in Liliana's room and her bedtime is coming up in 3 minutes, and they're actually here. Here, come here, Liliana. For those who are watching on YouTube.
Oh, look here!
Oh,
come here, baby.
Oh my goodness, making her PETM debut. Liliana Gluck. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Type? Yeah.
That's great.
Oh.
And whose hair does she have? Because that's a little little bit different color, Jeff.
Yeah. Can you wave? You wave?
Wave. Woo.
Yeah. Aliana.
Can you say PETM?
That's funny.
Love it.
Little
Love
young.
You have a phone screen?
Oh, look at that. We got laughs. I love it. Hey, look at these two morons.
No, that's totally cool, Jeff.
Oh, man. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you for doing that.
Let's do this. Let's go ahead and gas it up.
Make the picks and get on out of here.
That's right. Time to talk about Pocono, the hottest ticket in NASCAR next year.
Next year. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I've got friends over there in the Pocono office, and I'm like, we want a big old spot down in turn 1 inside the track.
And we're bringing everybody.
And we're bringing like 25 people.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like let's do it.
Right. I would do fun facts on Pocono, but we just did that 6 weeks ago. Right?
We did just do that 6
just
weeks
go
ago.
back
To
and
Jeff's
listen
point,
6
that's
episodes
kinda, I mean,
Right. So we'll go straight into picks. Last week, John Wood picked Paul Menard. Go figure. Paul finished 18th. I picked Jimmy, who finished 19th. So I did worse. Even when John Wood had like the default pick that he had to pick, I got my choice and I lost. Right.
Right.
That's all bad. Sure, when you pick Chase
he broke some stuff.
Well, Chase got 4th. So, it was... Or no, Chase didn't get 4th.
No, he's
What in the world did he
36th,
do?
I think.
I was just looking at
He
this.
broke stuff.
That's-
No, 29th.
That's funny. All right,
Yeah,
I got to go back and look.
he broke stuff, and they had to fix it, and he got back out.
You know what? I think I was looking at standings when I meant to be looking at the numbers where they ended up. So that's what messed me up. So Chase Elliott finished 29th. So we did not have a great showing last week. Did we?
So
did we
I
lose?
get to pick first again.
Gluck, are you there? You still with us? Oh, we probably lost Gluck. I saw his.
We may have
the video
lost Jeff.
pause there.
Yeah, his video definitely
Oh, that's
paused.
okay. Reconnecting. There is a poor connection. What's he got to say? Well, we'll see if we can get Gluck back here in a moment.
Yeah, we'll
before
just
we do that, let's
keep on talking smack.
let's go ahead and make some picks. Sherwin, I think that means you are first and foremost up with us.
First to go, right?
Yeah.
Pocono, right? That's where we're going.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to pick Ryan Blaney.
Ryan Blaney at Pocono. You know, here's the hard part: is usually we give our guest first pick, right?
Oh, Jeff said he's hanging tight. Computer battery died.
Oh no! Well, text him. Don't worry about it. But give us a pick. But
Oh, yeah.
Tell him. Don't worry about joining back in. But because we know we are now beyond time, so that's fine. But we do require a pick out of him. Here's the thing. I mean, Kyle Busch has won the last 2, and has won the last 3 out of 4. You know who's good at Pocono, right? But and we don't. You know,
We do.
yeah, I didn't give Gluck the chance to pick first. Truex has won as early as or as recently as
I
last
think he's won
year.
3 of the last 6 or something like that. Like,
Well, he might have to go a little bit further back, but
had
yeah,
a good run of it.
yeah, he's had a good run. So I want to. Here's the thing: Toyota has won the last 4. So
He said he's ready to reconnect.
oh, he's ready. Okay,
Bring him
All
back
right.
in.
We'll ring him in then. We'll ring him in. Not a problem. Let's see. Hey, there he is.
Oh, I'm here. Can you see me? Sorry, I had to
We
go
see
plug
it.
in.
Oh, it's a new setting and
My computer
everything.
died. All of a sudden, you went black, and I could still hear you. And I'm like, I think my computer's dying. And then you were gone.
Oh
I
man.
was like, I couldn't get to the outlet in time. But I'm here. Hello.
So I already picked
Sorry.
Blaney, but normally we let the guest pick first. But we had
I
the
would
issue with.
pick Kyle Busch. I mean, I just.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
not to like toot the horn of a coworker here with the Athletic, but if you read David Smith's speed rankings on the Athletic, I mean, Kyle Busch is still bringing the fastest car every week. He's the championship favorite. So I just feel like I always try to pick the fastest car, who I feel like the fastest car is going to be, and I feel like Kyle's going to have it. So I'm not going to pick against that.
Yeah.
Well,
we were just talking about that while we were.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of thought at Pocono is kind of place that obviously you got to get off turn 3, which means you have to have a fast car and you have to have it set up well. But Pocono offers you the opportunity to, make some strategy calls because of the way it plays out in the end.
Right, and that is why I'm sticking with Toyota, but I'm going a little bit different here, boys. Here we go. Eric Jones.
Oh, listen to you. All right.
I don't think I've ever picked Eric Jones on the show before, but I think, such a strong showing last week. He's been up there. I think it's entirely possible there. So
if we got a couple more minutes with Jeff, I want to say I listened to your podcast this evening, the post-race podcast. I want to tell Jordan that, obviously we love the fact that he joined us, and I love all your content, but I totally disagree with him about the Menard deal with Burton. I think
really you're on my side with this.
I am. I think Burton needed to learn a lesson, and he probably learned it, and maybe he'll be a better racer because of it.
Wow, I did not think that I was going to get anybody to agree with me. Twitter's been very against our opinion. I bet people in the chat as well are not agreeing with us because people have been very anti-Menard from what I've seen.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't have a problem at all with Menard dumping Burton. It doesn't bother me a bit.
You know what's funny is I read the article and I kind of went, I should say, so I'm right in between all these. I'm the indifferent guy. Yeah. There's people who are pro Menard, there's people who are anti Menard, and I'm like, that's what we want, right? This is NASCAR. Sure, this is fine.
It looked like it was NASCAR as F, right? Yeah. AF or whatever we're using now.
Going back to Harvick's car, yeah. So I'll be the intermediary. That's like, I'm fine with this, whatever. So I didn't get too excited or upset or whatever. Jeff, let's go ahead and let you get on down. Thank you so much for being on and having Liliana on. That was so cool.
That was very cool, man. Yeah. That was very cool.
So tell the folks where you're at next and where they can find you coming up.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting Liliana be on. I'd show you what she's doing now, but it's not suitable for YouTube. I think you might get banned because of breast nudity. So she's enjoying a meal.
She's eating.
But
having a meal.
I think Sarah's going to get mad at me after this.
Oh, yeah. Anyway. All right. Sorry, Sarah. I apologize.
Thanks for having me on. It's always good to talk to you guys. And I know I've said this before on here, but I can't thank you guys enough. Since you buttered me up earlier. You guys are the most supportive people. And I really appreciate you. I was, not having my back necessarily on things that we might disagree with about NASCAR stuff, but just supporting my content in general or the work I do because, it would always be I put out a podcast or something and then you guys would retweet it and be listening now or you give me feedback on it and stuff. And that really means a lot because sometimes, you just you work hard on something and you put out your content and you're just is anybody hearing this? Is anybody listening? Is anybody reading? So it is really cool that you guys are so supportive, and I appreciate you a lot, and I always look forward to seeing you guys at the tracks and stuff. So thanks for all you do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's reciprocated 100%, Jeff. You're one of the reasons why we started doing this, and not necessarily.
You want to know what one of our original goals were? Sure. We said if we show up at a tweet up and Jeff goes, all right, we've got Bob Pockris over here, we've got those folks over there, and PTM Podcast is right over there. And I think last year or 2 years ago, I think is what it was, at Atlanta, you did exactly that. And I mean, we were like, oh my God, we can stop the podcast now. This we reached the pinnacle. We finally got. So one of our even goals in starting this thing was, you know what? If we get somewhere and Jeff is like, and there's PTM Podcast, we'd be like, holy shit, we made it. I was first to say shit.
Yes! Rusty was the first one to cuss tonight. No, seriously, Jeff. I mean, what you've been doing is has absolutely driven
so cool.
what we wanted to do and what we were creating, and the fact that you're willing to participate in it is there's no way for us to thank you other than to say thank you.
We don't support people who suck, right? So,
yeah.
I'll put it bluntly. We don't support people who suck, and Jeff Gluck does not suck. So we will
exactly.
We're listening, we're supporting, we're having a blast doing it. Jeff, what's your next race?
Well, my next race, NASCAR-wise, is going to be Bristol. So that's a long way away. But the reason is I'm going to the Knoxville Nationals again for the second year in a row.
Crap.
So very, very, very excited about that. They're going to let me. It's not my own money now that I'm spending. So I had to pitch this to the Athletic, like, hey, I think we should cover dirt. I think we should cover the Knoxville Nationals, and I will do my best to make the coverage worth your while.
When is that?
It is August 7th to 10th, I think. So the week before Bristol. It's Michigan week.
Okay.
All right.
So, yes. So that's
Jeff,
what
we will definitely
that's next for me.
We will definitely see you at Bristol. So, and then if you're going to Darlington, we will see you there as well.
Right.
Well, that's actually that's Portland Grand Prix weekend out here.
Okay. So Bristol, we got to make sure Bristol works out.
Yeah. So we'll see you at Bristol.
Okay, good.
All right, y'all. Jeff Gluck, there he is. And it's time for us to shut this thing down. Y'all know what to do, where to find us. As always, PTMpodcast.com, on the Twitter handle at PTMpodcast. And as always, I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor.
And I'm Andrew Sherwin at Pregame Engineer. And y'all go subscribe to The Athletic because it's worth it. And also, I'm over there on the Instagram at Andrew L. Sherwin.
Sherwin, who do we have next week on the show?
We have none other than the fine young lady who is singing this song right now.
That's right. It's like we have our other co-host here right now.
Sydney Lett.
We can't wait to hear her talk about NASCAR, talk about having fun. We are looking forward to next week, and we will see y'all there. Y'all have a good one.
Thrill of the chase, it's running on fumes in a checkered first place. We're stealing wheels and racing hard. We are NASCAR, we are NASCAR.
And done. Okay.
It's still like daylight where Jeff is.
Well, I mean, it's only 7 p.m. I would expect it. Oh, man. Jeff, that was fantastic as always, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we got
Oh, look at that. Blue skies in the Pacific Northwest.
You got a reprieve.
Yep. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, we're still live on YouTube, but man, that was so much fun. It always is. We mean every word we say, and in that we're always flabbergasted that anybody would want to come on this show and sit around and talk with a couple idiots for a little bit. But it's so much fun.
No, you guys are awesome. Seriously, I mean, we'll just keep making it a tradition.
Man.
If you ever went too long and didn't invite me, I'd definitely be insulted. So,
well, there you go.
Well, I think I could figure that out.
Well, let's not let you. I do not want to be on the wrong end of the wrath of Mrs. Gluck.
Yeah, let's not get Sarah pissed at you.
Well, what she really needs now is we're at the point where Liliana needs 2 people to wrangle her for a diaper change. So what I do is I take my phone and I play a Minnie Mouse video.
Okay.
So Sarah changes the diaper quickly. Otherwise, Liliana's like trying to wrestle a pig right now. She's wriggling all over the place. And Sarah's about to change her diaper, so I should probably get to that. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think there's a lot of parents that are going to watch or listen that will love that.
Yeah. For sure.
Anyway,
Jeff, we'll see you soon. We'll see you later next month.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
See you, man.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Jeff Gluck, gave us what is
was
that?
so
like 13
cool.
more minutes than he even said he had.
Yeah, thank you to Sarah Gluck. I will thank her on Twitter. I follow her on the Tweeter through our professional handle.
So I love these kind of texts. So I got a text.
Did you get one?
No, I got a text in the middle of the stream or in the middle of the show.
Oh,
and
mine's only from Jeff.
It's one from one of our buddies, Chris or Waylon.
Yeah.
Right? And Waylon, out of context, there is no way to know what this means, right? And if someone were to pick up my phone, they would go, "What on earth happened? What is he talking about? This is ridiculous." All he texted me, all right? I haven't talked to him in a few days. And all he texted me was, "Send me the videos of you eating shit, please."
When
That was the whole thing. Send me the videos of you eating shit. Deep in the BTM After Dark.
Did
ladies
you
and
take a
gentlemen.
dump or?
No, that's the funny part. So we were out at the lake this last weekend, and we went out on the boat. And here's the thing. So we were out on the boat. And
This is BTM After Dark,
It is.
y'all.
So we had we were doing some tubing, right? And now all the kids were there, so the kids would go out and like there would be an adult with a kid. I was the adult with the kid one time, and then there was maybe two kids together, and we're going slow because these kids are wusses nowadays, man. Like some of these kids that are 8 and 9 years old. What did you want to do when you were 8 and 9? Go fast, just floor it, right?
Jump off high stuff and crash.
Right. We just wanted to crash. Well, these kids, I mean, like every time we got over just no wake plus a little bit, it was stop.
They freak out?
Yeah, they're just freaking out and stuff.
Jesus.
So we're going now.
If you saw how much shit I ate when we used to ride ski, do you know what a ski bob is?
Yes, I do.
8, 9 years old, we ate almighty shit. Because when you hit a wake with that thing, it would start to tumble. Mm-hmm. And you would just bang.
So here I am, 37 years old, right? Freshly 37, right?
Freshly 37.
Right? And so this was Sunday. Like, it was time to leave. We're ready to go, but we're going out on the boat. We knew we were going out on the boat. We are going to do a little bit of tubing before everybody heads back home. And so the kids were finally like, now, some of the kids were really awesome about it, right? They said they didn't want to go fast, but they were fine once we started going a little bit faster.
They kind of wanted to go fast.
They wanted to go fast in a straight line, right? Now,
that's a different animal.
Here's what happened. What had happened?
What happened was...
So, Waylon's driving the boat, and everybody kind of wants to see somebody go crazy and crash and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, all right, and I kind of do that, like, all right, and I like sort of stretch a little bit. And
I go the back a little bit.
I go, listen, Waylon, I'm getting old. I ain't got all day for this. Give me your worst. I just wanted to be the worst to start with.
Yard sale.
So he just I get out there, we get going, maybe just a little bit, just like make sure everything's stable, and then he starts. He punches it fast as the boat goes. It's a pontoon boat. It's not a speedboat or nothing, but it's got 150 horses behind it. So we're moving at a pretty good clip.
It'll get going fast enough.
And if you do that big turn to the left and then whip it around back to the
whip
right,
it, yeah.
And you'll get you get outside the wake and you whip around and whatnot. So I mean I'm holding on for dear life as best as I can, and a couple of those whips around, and finally my legs kind of hit the water, and once your legs hit the water, it's over.
It's like brakes.
Yeah, it's complete throwing out an anchor.
It's like throwing out an anchor.
So, I mean, I yard sail completely, and I mean, I'm just flipping in the water, blah, 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 splash everywhere. Ha, ha, ha. I sort of I wasn't like passed out or not. It wasn't like that. It was just, at some point you're underwater, you're like, all right, well, let me just float back to the top. Make sure that, I stick a thumbs up as the first thing that they see come out of the water, just kind of like, right. Screw you guys.
I'm not dead.
Fun. Right. And that was awesome. Yay. And then, the kids are laughing and screaming and all that. So that's what he meant. Somebody, my wife took video. And then, by the way, Serena was the second person to go. After seeing me eat shit, she goes,
she went?
I'm next. And she went out there and ate almighty shit. Right? So props to my wife, too, for having seen what happened.
And now,
my
she's
turn.
35.
Yeah, she's like, my turn. And she gets out there and just blam. And by the way, she lasted about 45 seconds longer than I did. So props to her.
Well, I mean,
it was fun.
That's what she would say anyway.
So with all that, I get the text that says, "Send me the videos of you eating shit, please." That.
Well, so for everybody on the YouTube video, I will talk about the time that Grant
I know this story.
crushed me on a tube.
Start with it.
Yeah. So me and so he had it really was a 3-person tube, but we only had 2 people on, and was like it was hand fighting. Like you were trying to fight the other guy to get off. Like you were trying to get the other guy off.
Right.
And but Grant was like, "Yeah, my boat can go 45 miles an hour, so I can sling you like real fast." Like we were probably doing 80, like when it really whipped itself out, and Brandon, or I think his name was Brandon, he dumped off, and I was like, "Why'd you leave?" He's like, "Because you're fixing to eat a big bag of shit." And here come the waves, and I got hit in the nuts so freaking hard I barfed in mid-air.
I know this story and I laugh every time. Imagine that. Y'all think slow motion in your head right now. I want you to all close your eyes and in slow motion think, here comes a wave. Sherwin has to let go of the tube, and the wave hits him perfectly between the legs, knocks him up in the air, hurts so bad that he barfs midair.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was ridiculous. They drove by in the boat, and I was like, "Can I just have a life jacket?" And I put it on like a diaper, and I was like, "Can you come get me in 10 minutes?" This is a problem.
Now, I will say, here's the difference. I was wearing a life jacket the whole time. So, in this,
I was not wearing a life jacket, and I was like, I don't want to work. So, I was like, give me the biggest life vest you got, and I'm going to put it on you know how you wear you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Every Southerner that's ever lived around lakes knows that, you can wear a life vest as a diaper.
Sure.
And, you can just sit there and float and drink beer.
Well, that's what you do.
Or you can sit there and let your stomach settle because you just got your balls racked.
Right. Oh, man. Well, y'all, it's probably about time to hit it. We got to get this thing uploaded. I believe it's almost uploaded, and then I have to post it, and then that should put it on iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play and all the places that things go to. But thank y'all so much for being on. Hope y'all have had some fun. I know we have. So
for sure.
And thank you again, Jeff Gluck. I know we spent the last 2 minutes of that thing thanking each other for stuff, but yeah.
You can't thank them enough because it's so awesome that they're willing to do it.
That's what it is. Yep. And so, anyway, with that, see y'all later. We'll see you next week. Good times.
Sydney Lett
Sydney Lett will be here. See y'all.